Should we ask each other a random question?
Well, I was about to ask you, actually.
Oh, you're going to ask me a random question?
Has there ever been a film or a TV show that involves a unicorn that doesn't die?
My
Admittedly,
Little Pony.
Is that a film?
There's a My Little Pony film.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
We worked it.
What do you mean we worked it?
I'm pretty certain we worked a My Little Pony film that came out.
No, impossible.
Yeah. I could be.
I mean, to be honest, my question involves literally 2 films: the one we're about to talk about, and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Let's get on with it then.
Where are we? Hello, my name is Sam.
And I'm Ian.
And we welcome you back to the latest episode of the Deep Dive 5, a show where we dive into 5 topics regarding the career of a filmmaker and their latest film or TV show. The great Paul Rudd is under the spotlight in this episode, as his latest film sees him and Jenna Ortega accidentally kill a unicorn. The film itself is called Death of a Unicorn and will be hitting cinemas in the UK from the 4th of April. The film so far has received mixed to positive reviews. Despite Paul Rudd's famed ageless appearance, the film seems to carry on his almost career-defining role of flawed but loving family man. Ian, has anyone played that particular role better in the 21st century?
Oh, that's a good question. Because he is like the everyman. I think
he's the guy.
If I had to think about it for more than 5 minutes, I would probably say fellow comedian Steve Carell. He's done pretty good everyman. But actually, I'll probably say Jason Bateman.
I thought about this, but how often is Jason Bateman a dad?
Arrested Development.
Well, I mean, the one other than that.
Well, but then there's not a lot.
Would
would you say that Paul Rudd has the fatherly figure role in a lot of stuff?
No, well, not so, he tries. In every film, he is like, he loves his family, but he's like flawed. So you think of Superbad, you think of This Is 40, which is the sequel, not Superbad, sorry. Knocked Up. That's not, is that right?
Yep.
Knocked Up, sorry. Yep. Yeah, Knocked Up, and then This Is 40, and then you've got Ant-Man, and then you've got, I believe, Death of a Unicorn, Ghostbusters. So yeah, he's sort of falling into that sort of cliche over the last 15 years, which has kind of defined, I think, his career.
Yeah, but then you've also got things like Role Models and like where he's almost like the aging guy who doesn't have a family. Role Models, forgetting Sarah Marshall, I Love You Man. Like there's a lot of roles where he doesn't also fulfill that remit. I feel like it's probably bigger now because as he starts to move into, I mean, we'll probably talk about this in a bit anyway. I think Paul Rudd is moving into blockbusterdom. I think he's had his run on the comedy circuit, and now he's entered his blockbuster phase.
Oh, I would say that's been well in place for 10 years.
Yeah, but then with that trajectory, there also comes that need to be a family man.
Yes.
Because he can't just be that lovable rogue anymore. Or that lovable nerd, I suppose, in some instances. So I think it comes with the territory of more blockbuster filmmaking that he's moved into. On the whole, I would probably say, yeah, if there is a comparison, I would probably say Jason Bateman is probably your closest one. Otherwise, we're kind of going into the territory of just comparing the comedy group that he's most associated with.
Yeah.
Jason Segel, but he's more of like an outside one.
He's so independent,
Seth Rogen.
They don't pull it off like he does.
Steve Carell.
Yeah. I mean, would you class Paul Rudd as a comedian? Or has he just sort of, we'll talk about this later, but has he just more sort of like fallen into that sort of Judd Apatow group?
He has, but he also comes from a background of, or a slight, like an improv background.
Yes.
And he's got a very dry sense of humour. So I think he's perhaps an actor that can pull off comedy a bit better than others. You also can't deny the roles that he's been in has allowed that to kind of blossom as well for him. I mean, if you look at his early career and stuff, he wasn't really on the trajectory of comedian, but he was still like the everyman.
Yeah.
Like, so it kind of feels like it can fall into that role if it so chooses to. If you're say for instance, a good everyman character that just so happens to be able to pull off timing, you can quite comfortably fall into comedy. And I think he's just then ended up in roles that has kind of solidified that role as well. So he's a bit of a, I wouldn't say he's a chameleon because I do think he's very, you know what you're getting with Paul Rudd. But I think because of that, that's what makes Death of a Unicorn quite interesting because it's a genre he hasn't dabbled in since like 1994.
Well, we'll go more into his later career in a bit because we'll talk about his backstory. So Paul Rudd was born in 1969 and grew up in New Jersey and Kansas. He's a massive Kansas City fan. He's like the face of like the NFL team.
Really?
They've done really well in the last few years. So like every time you watch a game and there's like a famous fan in the stand, you just see Paul Rudd going crazy. But Paul Rudd's parents are actually both from London.
Yeah.
And he has he had a very British upbringing, and which I think is where he probably gets his dry sense of humour in many ways.
I must have, in prep for this as well, I must have pretty much read the same interviews as you, because as soon as I heard that, I went, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just completely makes sense. There's like a sensibility about him that feels really familiar, and particularly in some of his comedy, and we were talking about timing and things like that, like that didn't surprise me.
Yeah. Were you a fan of Beano growing up?
The comic strip?
Yes.
Well, I knew of it. I wouldn't say I was part of. I was superheroes growing up, so
yeah. Well, Paul Rudd, his English uncle, would regularly send him Beano magazines to America throughout his like the 70s and early 80s. I don't think I've ever read it because it's Dennis the Menace, isn't it? Beano.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's basically
Desperate
the closest.
Dan.
Say again?
A Desperate Dan.
I don't think I've heard
It's
of
like
Desperate Dan.
I think he's like a weird cowboy.
Oh, okay. So Rudd, his first foray into acting was he was studying theatre in Kansas before making his acting debut in 1991. The hit film Clueless
Great
was
film.
Rudd's... Say again?
Great film. I love Clueless so
Oh,
much.
Clueless. I've only seen it once, and I somewhat enjoyed it.
It's like based on a very famous text, so you kind of like structurally, it works really well.
It's
in the same
Shakespeare,
way as,
isn't it?
No, it's Emma. Jane Austen's Emma.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry. Right.
So it's a bit like, you know how 10 Things I Hate About You is Taming of the Shrew? It's kind of a very similar thing. So structurally, it really holds up surprisingly well. Like it set a huge foundation and was very, it's a good role to have.
Well, if we didn't have that film, we wouldn't have Batgirl in Batman and Robin. Because that was literally my thing with Clueless for about 20 years.
True.
Oh, it's got what's her face
But then
from
we wouldn't have
Alicia
Clueless.
Silverstone.
Alicia Silverstone. We wouldn't have Clueless without Aerosmith.
That's true.
So
And we wouldn't have Paul Rudd without Clueless.
we wouldn't have Paul Rudd
'Cause that was
without
his
Halloween 6.
Well, that was his film debut, Clueless, believe it or
Yeah.
not, which is a very impressive debut. But then he didn't really do anything that crazy for the rest of the 90s, bar Halloween.
Halloween 6.
Your favourite Halloween film. Rudd, he struggled to establish himself in Hollywood, but 2004 proved to be a turning point with popular supporting roles in both Anchorman and as Mike in the hit show Friends, which was, I think, probably most people's, particularly in England, their introduction to Paul Rudd.
Clueless. Wasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think people remember him.
Oh, you're talking about overall.
Yeah.
I thought we were being narcissistically. I turned it round to me again.
Yeah, well,
I remember him from things like Romeo and Juliet.
He
Romeo
was
and Juliet, Baz Luhrmann was huge. So, like, that's not a bad way to start as well.
He wasn't a
Phoebe's household name, but you would
Phoebe's
have
guy.
recognised him.
He was Phoebe's guy. That's it.
I think that's probably where he got notoriety. Because not only that, but he absolutely nailed the role.
Yes.
As Mike, he's arguably the best walk-on character or the best secondary character in Friends.
He is the best addition to later Friends, I would say.
Yeah.
Outside of what obviously we've
Best
seen.
celebrity cameo?
Well, it's not really a cameo because he's in it for fairly regularly for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's because
Like cameos like
he's
Alec Baldwin.
he's so charismatic with Phoebe
Yeah.
that Mike and Phoebe are such a good couple. And honestly, him playing a piano is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Well, his episode where he tries to bond with Ross
Yeah,
is so relatable.
fantastic episode.
So 2004, he essentially established himself really in the comedy circuit. He did make Wet Hot American Summer in 2001, which I think sort of like he was knocking on the door, and then 2004 he opened it, and then that essentially
Started his improv comedy. I think,
maintained his basically the career he's established to the present day.
I have not seen Wet Hot American Summer, but it is a film now that I want to see. Having now read some of his interviews and stuff like that off the back of this, one of the big things that I thought is that cast is phenomenal.
Yes. Yeah,
it has so many hit names now.
Indeed.
That it makes me intrigued about what this is, because I still don't get it. Like in even the clips that I watched of it, I was like, is this one of those like weird Linklater movies, which is like a camp?
Yeah.
And we just insert characters with it. Is it kind of like a 3-week period on a camp in the middle of one summer in the US? Like, is that what we're going to watch with this? And it's just made me really intrigued.
It's like Band of Brothers, but camping.
That's a weird comparison.
Well, because in Band of Brothers, that established so many people before they were huge, like Fassbender and Tom Hardy, and funny enough, David Schwimmer's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from 2004, you've got Paul Rudd starring it. Well, he's not actually starring in many, having like done the research, but he is very memorable in almost all the comedic appearances that he makes.
Yeah.
And he basically forms a brilliant partnership with Judd Apatow. I think he must be the most regular Apatow actor outside of Seth Rogen.
Yeah, I think so.
He must be. And
Jason Segel probably's got to be pretty high up there.
I don't think not as much as you think, because obviously there's a Freaks and Geeks connection too.
Yeah.
And that's sort of Segel and Rogen. That's how they met him. I don't think Paul Rudd was in that at all. I don't think he was in Freaks and Geeks.
No, but Segel turns up in pretty much he's in Knocked Up. He's in
Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Is I Love You Man a Judd Apatow as well?
I don't think it is. It might be produced. Because a lot of these films, because that's the thing with
Apatow becomes a producer much more than...
Well, everyone thinks he directed all these films, but he mostly produces them.
Yeah. He was
4-Year-Old Virgin.
The guy who brought the gang together type thing.
4-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up are his sort of babies, essentially. Yeah. But then...
Which actually, interesting enough, do you know 40-Year-Old Virgin was actually Steve Carell's idea? Apparently it was based off of like a character that he created for like a sketch comedy show or something like that. And it kind of came from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have
to do Steve Carell whenever he actually does like a big film again outside of Despicable Me 17.
Yeah.
But yeah, his first proper starring role, I think, during the Apatow reign was This Is 40, because he obviously starred in Role Models.
Yeah.
But other than that, he didn't really star in that many. But then in 2015, I would say Paul Rudd reached his apex mountain, so to speak, by starring as Scott Lang, also known as Ant-Man, in the MCU film Ant-Man. And he starred in his own trilogy. And
this was the blockbuster. This is when he entered his blockbuster phase.
Yeah. Again, this is sort of he sort of used all the material in all like the cameo or smaller appearances he made in like Civil War and all sorts. And he's probably one of my favourite additions. I have not seen Ant-Man 3 though.
He has mic'd in Friends himself into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
He's like he's one of the heroes that you quite like to see his normal version of. Like he's just he's a comfortable presence amongst the chaos. It's actually just quite nice for him to play the everyman and just be the guy who's like, oh my god, there's Captain America over there, or I've just got a suit that makes me really small, but that guy's actually got superpowers, and that guy's a god, and that guy's a billionaire. And
well,
it's like
a mutual acquaintance of ours, when Ant-Man came out, had to remind me repeatedly that Ant-Man is actually the most powerful superhero in Marvel. So, you're saying he shrinks, but apparently he's like a god.
Okay.
Yeah, because he can bend ants to his will.
Okay. Is this like the Thanos theory?
The what?
The famous Thanos theory, which is basically Ant-Man could have gone up Thanos' bum and then gone really big.
I'm sorry.
And then that would have ended Endgame.
You call him Thanos?
No, it's the Thanos. Thanos. Anus. Thanos.
Oh, sorry, theory. I'm slow. Okay. Yeah, for a minute though, I was thinking, are you talking about Thanos?
Yeah, I'm saying it like an idiot, essentially. You know that Thanos? You know that guy?
I was like, did you go back to Canada? But have you seen Ant-Man 3?
Quantumania?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. Like, really awful. Like,
so
Bill Murray has a terrible walk-on part. None of that makes sense.
I'm sorry,
none of it has...
Bill Murray?
Have you seen it?
I haven't, no. I don't know anything about it.
Bill Murray turns up in Quantumania.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, has just like a side part. It doesn't make any sense. There's so much CGI. It's such a mess of a film. It is offensive to the senses. It's really bad. It's just this weird, like, purple palette of just mess CGI that just doesn't really make any sense. There's no texture to it. There's no depth. So you just feel like you're just watching just paint being thrown at a screen for like 2.5 hours.
Okay.
And it's ultimately, I do feel a bit sorry for him, really, because there's so much expectation on Quantumania to do really well and to kick off this next phase that they didn't realise what the point of the Ant-Man films were. And I don't think it was to be like that type of film. It was to be the crime caper, the side story. You know, Ant-Man was never going to be a central character in all of this, but he could be a really good exposition. He could be a really way of kind of everymanning this really complicated plot or something like that, because he could just come in and just kind of throw lines that, you know, was a good analogy for what was happening or something like that, right? But yeah, it was a really odd move during COVID that just really didn't seem to pay off. Like none of it just worked. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest.
I think it was the first. Oh no, it wasn't even the first sort of like big stumble, was it? Because that was kind of well established with the Eternals.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you look at Paul Rudd's career, I mean, I'm interested to know what happened to him after Clueless. He's not like, he hasn't got like a starring role in that film, but he is the love interest, isn't he?
Well,
by the end, I mean.
Yeah. So by the end of it, he is the love interest. He is essentially the stepbrother of Cher, who's our main character, Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know that. She's kind of like, she's trying to make Brittany Murphy into someone, a popular kid at school.
Yes.
Because she's a bit nerdy, she's new to the class and all of that lot. And Paul Rudd is just kind of the sideline character of it. He's like the stepbrother who's at college, who kind of jumps in and out of the scenario every so often just to kind of highlight just how ridiculous it all is. But as I say, he ends up being the lovable love interest by the end of it. Spoiler alert. But yeah,
well, I mean, the film's 30 years old this year.
It's an interesting term, because obviously Clueless gave him a really good platform, but then as it kind of went on, he did that thing that a lot of actors do who have a big break. They jump straight into horror. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, whatever it was. That's just not a good film. But Romeo and Juliet, he turns up in. He's got some really, I'd say, for me personally, his career doesn't really kick off till the 2000s. If you're going to kind of put a film that would be his like tentpole into his movie career, let's say, I think it's Anchorman.
Oh, yeah. He is kind of the best part. I mean, look, I've got the list here. So from 2004, you've got Anchorman, you've got 40-Year-Old Virgin, you've got Knocked Up, you've got Forgetting Sarah Marshall, you've also got Role Models, This Is 40. What was the film he did with Jason Segel that you mentioned?
I Love You, Man.
I Love You, Man, which I haven't seen, but I've heard's pretty good.
It's great, yeah.
And
it's one of the less... The Judd Apatow stuff's really interesting because they're the 2.5-hour comedy films that got really stale. Like, by the time we got to the 2010s, like, the Judd Apatow comedy had kind of died out a little bit. Like, and I Love You, Man was kind of one of the last ones. Like, Jason Segel almost had the last run of Apatow movies kind of under his belt, and then it kind of just all kind of fizzled out a bit, which I don't think is a bad thing, because I did think the 2.5-hour comedy started kind of getting a bit long in the tooth. But yeah. I actually think, like, it's such an impressive run as the secondary or third character in a film that, for me, it's more noticeable the real kind of dip or disappearance of his career between the 2010s onwards, because the Marvel machine kicks in. And he literally, unless he is Scott Lang, he is no one else. He did like a TV show for Netflix, which actually was okay, where he played like his double. Has Aisling B in it, I think. I love her. I think she's a great comedian. And I thought that was an okay TV show. But it is just amazing. And I think more and more we don't do these Deep Dive 5s, it will become more noticeable how the grind of that Marvel machine just kind of puts a stop to what a lot of people are doing outside of it. Aside from a couple of like indie side pieces or something like that, it becomes all encompassing. So I do find it interesting that it's like he has lots of standout stuff. At one point, he must have been one of the busiest actors, because his 2000s are insanely busy, as full as flops as they are successes. It almost feels like he kind of leapfrogs himself quite a bit in terms of, like, for every Anchorman that you get, there is a admission, or, you know, for every I Love You, Man, there is a Dinner for Schmucks, or How Do You Know, which was that terrible Jack Nicholson film.
The last Jack Nicholson film.
Last Jack Nicholson film, yeah. And so, like, there's a real kind of flip-flopping, which just goes to show just how much then his charisma as the everyman works in his favour.
Well, this is the interesting aspect of Paul Rudd. He never seems... Has he ever had flack? He just seems so, like... I think everyone just gets that you don't know these people, but you feel like he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So, for example, these Ghostbusters films, I haven't seen them because I just think they're just going to be by the numbers and have absolutely nothing really going for them.
I've seen the first one.
I won't judge them fully, but like Paul Rudd's in them, and everyone seems to like him still. If you look at all like the reception, he's fine.
He's fine, yeah.
And I think he's never really, I think, had a bad performance, even if the film isn't particularly. I don't think he's ever been in a terrible film. He's been in average films. I mean, I haven't seen Halloween 6. I'm afraid.
Dinner for Schmucks is pretty poor. Oh, and also, what was that I want? Our Idiot Brother. Oh, that is a bad movie.
I mean, by the sounds of that film, it's probably aged terribly.
Awful. That's when like that's kind of a remnant of that type of comedy. Like when things like Dinner for Schmucks was coming out, How Do You Know? And as I say, Our Idiot Brother was coming out. That was when the comedy was really starting to kind of lose its way. That the Judd Apatow kind of structure to comedy was starting to actually disappear and kind of break down a little bit. So I'm not surprised that at that moment in time, Ant-Man was soon on the horizon. Was Ant-Man 2015, right?
2015.
So, yeah, some of his last flops when you kind of look at... He did a film, I think it was for Amazon at the time, Ideal Home, which I know was after Ant-Man. I think that was one of those like side projects that he was in. I didn't mind that. When I watched it, I thought it was kind of fine. It was with Steve Coogan. But when I looked up the review scores, scathing. Like people just did not like it. I didn't mind it. I don't know if it was because it wouldn't surprise me if that was one of those films at the time that I was catching on like a train or something like that, like to feel the commute or something like that. But
I think that might have more to do with Steve Coogan.
Okay.
He has a very interesting relationship with Hollywood and American cinema.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't seen it, but again, I wouldn't be shocked if Paul Rudd sort of like carries it.
Yeah. But to go back to your point, I think you're right. I think like in terms of like the everyman facade and does he catch any flack? I don't think he can.
No, he's just too cool.
He's just fine. He's just too likable. He just seems like, yeah, it's a Paul Rudd movie, you know.
Yeah.
But also I think that sometimes works in its detriment because you can also be like, it's a Paul Rudd movie. It doesn't kind of make you go, it's not like a DiCaprio movie or like, you know,
what would you
a new De Niro movie or something like that, right?
Do you think he plays it safe?
I don't know if it's safe. It's just, I mean, the real question is, does he have the range? I do think the one thing that we would say, to tie this back to, obviously, Death of a Unicorn, this is a comedy, horror, fantasy movie from A24, right? So there's a lot of things going on there that I'm not sure I would immediately put Paul Rudd in line to play. So I wonder if this was a role where he's kind of thinking, I'll test myself a little bit. I'll do something a little bit different. I'll break out of Scott Lang's shell and just do something that perhaps is a little bit...
I think he'll just be himself. I think he'll just do the classic loving father who's flawed to Jenna Ortega's character.
True.
The jury's out. But I suppose that's an interesting aspect of like... I think there's been a lot of comparisons to Paul Rudd and Jason Bateman in terms of
I literally made that...
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of... They've had like a somewhat similar sort of like pathway. Jason Bateman has ventured out into sort of darker material.
And has carried it very, very well.
Yes. I actually think he's fantastic in The Gift.
Yeah.
And I don't think Paul Rudd could potentially do that. But I suppose Paul Rudd, we'll talk about the elephant in the room, which everyone talks about with Paul Rudd, which is his aging. But he is now in his mid-50s. And is he just going to carry on again? Not accusing him of playing it safe, but just sort of playing the same character until he's like 65.
So that was going to be my next question to you, actually, was we've seen a comedy phase. We've seen his obviously entrance into film. He's tried random stuff, right? He's been in drama, he's been in comedy, he's been in all of that. Finds his comedy feet, does 10, 15 years of comedy. Scott Lang is still an extension of that, but he's in the superhero genre. So it's action, he's doing what he needs to do. He's now moving into his blockbuster phase. What is next for an actor like Paul Rudd? Because it's not like... I don't think he's going to easily be able to revert back into a comedy phase again. I don't think that space is going to be there. I don't think it's there now. I don't think the genre is necessarily there now for him to go back into it. But eventually, there's not going to be that blockbuster phase. So for someone like Paul Rudd, what is next for that kind of role?
I don't think horror suits him, personally. But I do think this might be a bit of a hot take, but try and do something like Bill Murray's Lost in Translation.
Oh, that's true.
Just something in that sort of realm. Just something makes us look at him in a completely different light.
Yeah.
I know Bill Murray always had that sort of dramatic side to him. I mean, even in Groundhog Day, there's like a dramatic performer there. But I don't think Paul Rudd has really had anything. He's had moments in his career. Even in Ant-Man, there's some moments with his daughter that's quite sort of dramatic. Yeah, we haven't really had anything. Like I just don't like look again with like Jason Bateman and like Ozark. Just something that it feels he can still pull off the everyman, but there's like a dark twist.
Do you think it? Yeah, I mean that's quite a good. That's
Like
an interesting
Walter
point.
White. I'm not saying he should try to be Walter White, but like Bryan Cranston was known for comedy, with the occasional dramatic appearance, and then Walter White just like completely changed everyone's opinion on him.
Or perhaps even go down, I'd say, almost the obscure route. So sort of try and see what it would like a Charlie Kaufman film, or like that type of I am an everyman in an extraordinary scenario. You know, like you can imagine me almost doing like a Jim Carrey and going down like Eternal Sunshine route, or like that type of niche. That's why A24 seems like quite a good home for him, because you can go taking down that route. If you take away, obviously, you know, a lot of their horror stuff's phenomenal. But if you also then look at Everything Everywhere All at Once and where that was going, like I wonder if this was like a platform for that. But I just don't think this is going to be that film for him.
No, what, Death of the Unicorn?
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying all this. There is a film coming out, I believe. I think it's already had a limited release at like a festival, but there's a film called Friendship that's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's got very good reviews. And from the small research I've done into it, it looks something like a comedy drama.
Okay.
So that might be something a bit different. But it's very interesting because, again, he's probably in the top 5 most popular Hollywood actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting if he could. I mean, you look at Adam Sandler, for example. Now he has had the most like whiplashy career ever. Like for all his terrible comedies that he's done, some of them I like.
He's had a Jim Carrey career,
but he's also done like Uncut Gems, which is probably one of the best performances in the last like 5 to 10 years, possibly. But Paul Rudd's like in the middle of that. He's just like always trotting along, doing very, very well. So yeah, we'll see. Good luck to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think then? I mean,
well, yeah.
What's next then? Do we recommend anyone listening to this podcast see this film?
I think
based on Paul Rudd being
in it. I think Paul Rudd, you know, it's probably what we've said most of the time. You know what you're going to get with him. He's going to put in a solid, charismatic performance. And again, he's going to carry on that trend of being the loving father who isn't great, but his heart is in the right place.
Yeah.
And Jenna Ortega, I mean, doing a film with her is a good idea because she's incredibly.
It's a good cast.
Incredibly
it's got
popular.
Will Poulter in it as well.
Yes, but it looks like very experimental.
Yeah.
And the reviews are mild to pretty good. But I think I'd like him to do. It's very interesting, like thinking about it.
I think ultimately, if you're a Paul Rudd fan, I think it will be a film to go and watch for. But I don't think this is necessarily going to signify a complete shift. 180 in what he does. Yes. I don't think it's going to shift his axis in any way, shape, or form. I think it's going to be another film that potentially does that.
Right, we now need to talk about what the viewers are here for. Why will he not age?
I think that's when we start up our beauty and personal care podcast.
I watched an interview today that came out on Monday, and honestly, again, he's like 55. It's like he's aged about 3 years since playing Mike.
Mad, isn't it?
He just looks eternally 38.
Yeah.
And I want to know his secret. Is he just happy?
He must be. It's like living in Kansas, being a Kansas City fan.
Yeah.
He's he's a funny guy. His parody that he does with Jimmy Fallon of like Spin Me Round is so funny.
Yeah. How do you think we'll look like when we're 55?
I'll be dead.
You'll be dead?
I'll absolutely be dead at 55.
Well, that's a sad turn of events. Who will I do a podcast with?
I live my life as I lived my life on a couch.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay, so when you're 55 and you're not around, I'll do a podcast in a celebration.
You'll go solo.
Yeah. I'll do it with Paul Rudd, because Paul Rudd at that point will be 38 and I'll be 55. So, we can have a nice nostalgic chat about it.
Yeah.
And then he'll have to let me know what it's like on Mars. Anyway, Well, yeah, I would recommend Death of a Unicorn, if nothing else, for everyone's love of Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to end it.
Cool.
So, thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the Deep Dive 5. We want to hear your opinions on the career of Paul Rudd. What would you rank as his career highlight? Would you rank it as Clueless, his little spell, comedy peak in the mid to late 2000s, or is he always going to be Scott Lang? I feel like the latter will probably be true, because
He'll be Ant-Man forever.
he'll be Ant-Man forever, exactly. Who would be Ant-Man for you if it wasn't for Paul Rudd?
I don't know. I think that was a pretty good casting, if I'm being honest.
Adam Sandler? No. Anyway, so if you would like to get more out of The Real Project, you can find us on Spotify, of course, and we will see you soon for the next episode of the Deep Dive 5. Goodbye,
See ya.
and please tune in next time.